What's going on, everybody? I'm Scott Oots. Today, I am bringing on Ryan from Kansas City. Ryan, how's it going?
It's going great, man. Thanks for having me.
No problem, man. Thanks for coming on. I know that offline we just talked about the Chiefs a little bit and the disappointment you just went through. And, there's brighter times ahead in business and in that.
I'm diehard. Listen, I got, the office is decorated.
There we go. So next year, you guys going to go Super Bowl bound or what?
I hope so. I'll be there if they do.
All right. Hey,
I'm going. After this year, I'm going to every game I can.
that's one thing I would love to do is I really would love to get Super Bowl tickets and go to a Super Bowl. I don't even care who's playing. I just want to go to the Super Bowl. So
I'd honestly probably rather go when it's not my team playing, just because if you spend $5,000 to watch your team lose and then have to like travel home to where it's gonna be cold here and miserable and dreary anyway by the time you get home. So it's like you don't want to come home off that L like this year.
yeah, that's a good point actually. I definitely would love to buy tickets, man. I think it'd be a lot of fun to do. So I really thought about it this year because it was kind of cool how Tampa was the first team to play the Super Bowl in their own stadium. I mean that was kind of cool, and it would have been really awesome to be able to be there. But getting tickets this year was insane because basically nobody was there. So, but
$10,000 for a sporting event is like just a little bit ridiculous.
I agree. I actually looked at tickets and I found some that were like nosebleeds for like, yeah, it was high nines. So absolutely crazy. And I'm like, you know what? If I'm going to do that, I'm going to do it a year where it's not COVID and it's a little more normal so we can really get the experience. So
For sure.
all right, man. Well, so you're in Kansas City. Is your market actually Kansas City or do you do outside of there?
Yeah, so we just actually started two other markets. We're mainly here, and then we just started marketing in Little Rock. I just got my first contract there. Actually, that's my first ever I've done virtual contracts here to where I never saw them, but that's my first one of another market, and then Indianapolis as well. And then we did a little in Atlanta. We just happened to we got a list somehow, so we just tried that list, and we haven't spent any more marketing dollars in Atlanta. It's just that was a different animal. Just even talking to the limited amount of leads we did, it was just like it's a different pace, different speed, and different price range for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot more competition too in Atlanta. There's a lot of people there running deals. When you're in some of the smaller areas, I imagine Little Rock and stuff was much easier. And I mean, Indianapolis.
Here, really, Indianapolis, Little Rock, both of those places seem like the same pace as talking to sellers at home.
Yeah, and Indianapolis is actually a competitive market. I mean, it really is. I know a lot of guys there, but they're doing a lot of deals. So it's kind of like me being in California. It's just it definitely is something where there's a lot of competition, but there's so many houses. You know, there's so much to be able to buy that me having a competitor down the street does not necessarily impact my business in a negative way, just because there's so many houses we're never going to see each other. So kind of how it goes. But tell me, how long have you been in business? Kind of how many deals have you done?
I started a little over 5 years ago, right around 5 years ago. I was working at the railroad in the evenings, second shift, and a friend of mine who's now my business partner kind of told me, "Hey, read this and listen to this." He had me read, gosh darn it, the Flip to Freedom.
Sean Terry stuff?
Sean Terry, yeah, the Sean Terry ebook. And then at that time, that was like there wasn't a whole heck of a lot of podcasts or stuff. So it was, I dove into like Sean Terry and Cody Sperber and guys like that. And then I started scrounging Craigslist, calling every day for sale by owner, and then Zillow for sale by owner, even for rent, if I thought it looked crappy. Took about like 3 months. I went to like every single garbage house ever for probably 3-4 months. And I was getting like super discouraged. My wife's pregnant. I sent out a little direct mail, like 350 pieces, and she's like, you're spending money on postcards, and she's like, we're about to have a baby. And I'm, to her, she's like, what is wrong with you, idiot? You don't know how to buy houses and you don't have money. But I got a deal off Craigslist. I got $1,100 for it. It got broken into twice after we had it under contract, and the chick moved to Alaska in the process. So it was basically we ended up getting the house for $700, and we made $2,200. I mean, it was the biggest life-changing moment ever.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So is your wife a believer now?
She is. She's able to quit her job. She's been staying home for like basically 4 years now. So I mean, yeah, I hope so.
Well, at least she likes the rewards of it, I guess.
Yeah. She's not volunteering to go to work anytime soon, so there's that.
It's like, that's really cool to see though, because there's always the person that has the vision, right? And then everyone else looks at it and they're like, what are you doing? Like, why are you doing this? Because so many people are just trained for that 9-to-5 mindset where you grow up, you go to high school, you go to college, you get a good paying job, and you go work for somebody 9 to 5. And that same person that's literally gonna drop you in a heartbeat without even thinking about it. And the people that are wired to go and start a business like you did, I mean, that's really cool. And that you have a very similar mindset to me. And my wife had more of a similar mindset to your wife.
Security. They just want to be safe. That's all.
Right? I mean, I used to go to the auction steps at the courthouse, buy houses that are being auctioned, bringing in $300,000 of cashier's checks, emptying everything we had worked for, literally taking our savings account down to like $4,000. And she's like, what are you doing? You haven't even seen this house. You haven't even walked through it. Like, I'm like, yeah, but it's going to make us money. And it's just hard to get people into that mindset. But once you do, the rewards, they definitely like it at that point and all of a sudden start buying in. So it's cool to see, wives buy into the mindset. And my wife knows I'm someone that takes a lot of risks. I won't gamble in Vegas. I won't put $1 on a table, but I will put $300,000 on a house, even if it's all I have, without seeing it. So I don't know what's better.
I don't gamble on sports other than like, I used to do fantasy football. I just don't have time anymore. And like, I might do like a 25-cent game of DraftKings basketball. And like, that's the extent, of that, but I won't, gamble on sports. But like you were saying, me and my mom are really close, and she was so pissed when I at the railroad. I thought that was my dream. Like, everything's good now, everything's taken care of. I'm good to go. And I was so miserable and still couldn't get ahead. Still, couldn't afford to go on vacation. Even if we did, it would have been the vacation where you save for 2 years and then you can't even enjoy it. Because I'd be thinking about, man, I want to be doing this. I'd see these people over here doing that. And I know you shouldn't think like that, but at the same time, to me, it's like, that's where I saw myself. And I was like, how the hell do I get over there? Because this over here sucks. And yeah, man, everybody was just like, my mom, we talk almost every day, and she didn't talk to me for almost 2 weeks after I quit my job. She was pissed.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, because she was just really upset. She just didn't want to see me fail,
Yeah, I mean, moms always want us to succeed, right? And
I started sending her screenshots of the money wires every time I'd get a check. And I'm like, why would I have a job? Why, come on.
You know what you call that? That's your shut up check, right? And of course you got to say that nicer to your mom, but that's exactly what it is.
It kind of was like, how about you shut up now? Because, here's 10,000, it's like, when I'll never make that in my life somewhere else.
Yeah, proof of concept. And I used to be the same way. I mean, my wife and I were broke and we wanted to go on vacation. So what we would do is we'd look at the vacation we wanted to go on. We'd figure out how long we have till that vacation. We'd divide that by the amount of months and make sure we put aside that money every single month to be able to go. And I was the same way as you. I looked at these people doing these lavish vacations and I'm like, man, we're penny pinching so much. And that's what I want to do, because you only have one life. And I don't think it's wrong at all to look at those people and say, hey, this is what I want. Because you know what? You wanting that is what puts you on the track to get that. And that's what's got you there. So, I mean, it's always okay to want to dream and want something better. You should never really want to be somebody else, but you should want to be able to follow in those footsteps or get the success that person has. But those people are the people that are driving you. And I was the same way. I looked at that all the time and I was like, what am I doing? Like, we're saving $75 a month into our savings account, like literally struggling to save that money to be able to afford to still live and go on that vacation. And then when we go on the vacation, it's like, we want to buy this or buy that, but we couldn't because that's all the money we had budgeted. And we've all been there, and you can look back at that now and appreciate those times, because those times are what's going to make you really good with money, because how to budget.
Should we get an appetizer at dinner? Like, should we get a drink, or should we get appetizer? Maybe split an appetizer. That'll, can't. It's already going to be $40.
Yep. Yeah, and I was always brought up that way because my parents weren't well off, and I always had everything I needed. My dad worked very hard for us, my mom worked very hard, but when we go out to dinner, it's like, all right, we're just getting the meal. We're not, that was the way it was, and that's the way I grew up, and then that's the way I became. And my wife and I became the same way because we just didn't have money. I was working at T-Mobile, she was working at a bank, and then all of a sudden, we started this, and all of a sudden we were able to go out to dinner and get a drink and another drink and not worry about it so much. But on the other hand, again, it makes you really appreciate the times you had and what you went through to get to where you are. So it's good to have that. I don't want to waste too much time on this because I think it's important, because it shows kind of where you came from, and I think we have a lot of a very similar background. But I mean, go ahead.
So from there, it turned into just doing some, at the first deal, I think I did some direct mail, and I'd do direct mail. And then I learned several times that lesson of spending your money that you make in the business and not putting it all back into marketing. I've got another deal, it's fine. Well, deal falls through, it's not fine anymore. And I really learned how fast you can blow 10 grand, $15,000. Like at one point, what I thought was a ton of money, it's a marketing budget. It's wild.
Yeah, and wait till you get even on a bigger scale. I mean, some of this stuff, if a marketing channel doesn't work and you spent 60 grand on it for the month, that's a big hit. I mean, it's a big hit.
No matter who you are, that's a lot of money.
It is. And we look, because our spreads are pretty large on our properties. And I know a lot of guys that have, $5,000, $10,000 spreads, but they'll do like 20 deals. Well, for me, we'll get a $70,000 or $100,000 spread. Well, if a $10,000 spread falls apart, it's like, okay, you can move on. A $100,000 spread falls apart, that hurts. That still hurts to this day. You look at it and you're like, damn, I was really planning on that coming in. And it hurts when a spread like that falls apart. So you'll get to those days where you really start feeling those larger spreads falling apart. So
I just wish we could find those larger spreads here. We've gotten into a groove where we're hitting, like, we closed 2 for over 20K each in the past this month. And then we got one that it's almost fallen through about 5 times. And then the documents they were stuck in Texas because it was frozen there and all this crap. And it's like a $4,500 deal. It's just one of those ones where the seller's been a pain in the butt. Just the typical low, just a piece of crap deal that I wouldn't have even cared if we didn't do, but it looks like it's going to get done. And then I think we have another one closing for 15, hopefully this week with everything back open. And we were frozen here for the last 2 weeks. So it was like under 10 degrees for 2 weeks. So they were doing that power outage crap. So businesses were shut down and it was just ridiculous.
I know what you mean. We hit like 50 degrees last week and it was tough. It was really cold. Okay, so fast forward to, right now, what does your team look like right now?
So it's my partner does the dispositions and a lot of the marketing stuff, and he's much more organized with the data and things like that and systems, and understands how computers work. And I deal with basically the acquisitions. I had a couple acquisitions guys before COVID, and then one was already on his way out, and then the other, once it got to where we weren't even able to go on appointments anymore, I was like, man, you should probably just go with wherever your job where you can get money that's guaranteed, because I don't know what's going to happen. And this was like about a year ago right now. So yeah, I've been my goal is to have a team built up around that acquisition. We have 5 VAs, cold calling and replying to texts, things like that. And so yeah, that's our team, is the 5 VAs and me and my partner.
Okay. So is cold calling and texting your main marketing source right now based on that?
RVMs, cold calling and text. Yep.
Okay. And your VAs are doing your RVMs too?
Yeah. Answering. We try to answer them live if at all possible.
Okay, gotcha. All right.
Now,
So
what about you?
then
Do you guys do RVM?
we kind of steer clear of RVM. I'll be honest, RVM scares the crap out of me. On the large scale that I'm on, I've seen too many people get sued from RVM.
Yeah.
So, and I've seen people, lose. You're talking hundreds of thousands, because in a TCPA lawsuit, you can't just claim bankruptcy and walk away from something like that. It's RVMs is one of those things that I'm on the fence about. I know a lot of guys that do it and have never had a problem. I know the select couple guys that have done it, and they're in rough shape because of it. So
Yeah.
it's a gamble. It's definitely a gamble, and I know there's a lot of the TCPA regulations. They're cracking down on a lot of that stuff. Some states are really starting to outlaw some of that. I know Florida did it. So it all depends on how you're using it and what kind of risk you want to take. I know guys that have set up another LLC, like a Wyoming LLC. They have their RVMs be sent out through that LLC. They have those employees employed by that LLC. Just so if something happens, you try to create that separation from your company and the RVM company. However, if you get into a lawsuit based on that, what they're going to try to do is what's called piercing the corporate veil. They're going to try to say this LLC is also the same as this LLC, so we need these merged together in a lawsuit. So if you pay for something out of the LLC from your wholesaling LLC, then you just breached it, and now they can put them together in a lawsuit. So it's got to be completely separate books. Everything has to be completely separate. It's difficult, really difficult, because one transaction can make it so they can pierce it.
Yeah, and trying to make that paper trail not exist is pretty tough.
It's hard. So I know a lot of people that successfully do it. So by all means, that's a call you can make based on your business. But they're starting to crack down, and texting as well. I could definitely see more regulation around texting. We've already seen it.
Yeah, there's a gray area there, big time.
Exactly, and I think a lot of stuff's coming around texting, but the government is holding the carriers very responsible for text getting to their customers. So we're seeing lower and lower deliverability with texting as carriers start doing that. And I think we're going to continue to see that deliverability drop until texting kind of just goes away. So it's going to be interesting in the next year to see what happens with text messages. So we're always changing, and we always have to be evolving to those changes. So RVM, just watch yourself, make sure that you're protected the best you can. Of course, I got to throw it out. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not giving you legal advice, but I'm just saying from my experience, the stuff I've seen. So, okay, so you're doing that with your VAs. What are your guys' goals this year?
1 million is our goal. The number one goal. It's not even so much as deals per month. My personal is 4 contracts per week, 100K closed monthly. I feel like if I can get 4 deals a week, then there's really no reason we don't hit 1 million. So that's like my big ones. I don't have it narrowed down. I probably should, but as far as leads, like we do 50 like warm leads a month or a week. That not the ones that are saying like, yeah, sure, I'll sell for 50,000 over at market, but no, like legitimate, a good lead to work. 50 of those a week is our target for that, and we've really learned from the past of trying to get by with doing as little as we could as marketing, but we'd fall into that trap of crap, we did 4 deals last month, but now we haven't done one, and it doesn't take long before those dollars start dwindling, like we were saying.
Agreed. So we're almost the end of February. So how did January turn out for you? Did you guys hit the 100K?
No, we did not. We're on target to hit it this month as long as we got one deal. It's a triplex. So we're on target as long as this one deal closes this month. And that'll be our first one, together. That'd be 100K month.
Okay. So what did you guys hit last month?
43.
All right. How many deals was that?
2.
Okay. Oh, that's not bad at all. So to get your 100K a month, you're looking at your goal of a $25,000 spread per deal.
Well, I don't think to me, I say 10 to 12 is more of a normal. We've gotten kind of lucky with some good $20,000 deals lately. I don't know about lucky, but looking back, it's the 10 to 12,000 is our average.
Okay. So
Spread goes.
So if you're shooting for your $100,000 a month, and you got $12,000, you're actually really needing to do about 8.3 deals a month to be able to get to that number. So that's.
So I think with 12 contracts per month, I can definitely. There's no reason we don't hit that.
Okay. Great. And then what'd you say you guys are on track to bring in this month based on your current transactions?
It'll be just over 100. So with the 2 closing, we're at 20. We're at 48, and then it'll be 48 plus 19, whatever that is. That's 67. And then this one we're marketing where it'll be a 40K spread, but I'm guessing it'll probably be closer to 30 once it closes. So, we're going to be right there.
Okay. Yeah, so that gets you about 97. Why is that one dropping to 30? Just assignment or what?
Well, there's just some things that, with like the leases that aren't really that great. The leases aren't great. The units are under rented. The electricals really, it's like 3 units are all on knob and tube, super outdated. And so we kind of reached on our asking just to, see what we could make happen. But I think it'll it's going to bring in 30, closer to 30 instead of 40.
Okay. Gotcha.
All right. The comps on the comps on it are so weird. Like there's a duplex that closed for a crazy high amount. It's like 300. And then there's another duplex that closed for like 65K, and it's one of those areas where you'll have like a house that closed for 15 and then a house that closed for 120. It's just a weird kind of up and coming gentrified area. So it's just hit and miss.
All right. So let's see, 43. All right. So if we're looking at this month's almost over, so let's say 10 months left in the year, you got to hit about 86 grand a month, as long as you bring in that 97 this month, right? So you got to hit 86 grand a month for the next 10 months to hit your goal. That's not bad. So you said $100,000 months. 100,000 obviously would have brought you to 1.2. So to hit the 1 million, 86 grand a month, which is completely doable. Completely doable. So, so you guys assigning most of your deals? You double closing? What are you doing?
We assign them.
Okay. So
we haven't run into hardly any problems, at all over the years with the assigning here.
Oh yeah, we do it for 99% of our deals. Even on $100,000 spreads, we're still gonna assign. So it saves a lot of money. As far as assigning it off to the buyers, so your partner's the one that does that. What's your partner's name?
James Dunwoody.
All right. So with your partner assigning off, do you guys find you're selling to the same buyers over and over again, or do you have different buyers?
So he's been doing it probably like close to 10 years now. And he has a large network as far as his buyers, but he's really started cold calling a lot of buyers. He'll find buyers in the area and skip trace them. But yeah, we have certain, if we get it in this neighborhood, we pretty well know, oh, we can sell it to one of these three guys,
Okay. Because, I mean, the advantage we have right now is this market is really hot. So a lot of buyers are trying to buy based on the amount over asking or appreciation they think they're going to get for the property. So what we've found, we've made a lot more money lately by not going to our standard buyers. We've got a lot of new hungry people that are trying to get into this business and trying to fix and flip right now. So we've been able to increase our spread significantly by being able to shift to a different buyer set and doing exactly what he's doing, cold calling buyers, and trying to get these deals out to them. And we've seen that increase, that if you were able to, because this is the standard thing I talk to everyone about, right? Everyone always assumes, okay, if I want to go from 4 deals a week to 5 deals a week, I have to market more. If I want to go from $12,000 spreads to $15,000 spreads, I need to get different deals, right? There's a lot of different mindsets around that. But the truth is, what if you didn't need to get more deals to hit your total monthly dollar, right? What if you got a little bit better on negotiating with the sellers, so building better rapport, getting like a $5,000 difference on the seller side? Then what if your partner got better at building that buyer's list to bring new people in and got $5,000 more on the buyer side? So if, instead of focusing on dropping more marketing, try to focus on negotiation power and building that buyer's list. Because if you can get 5 and 5, that's $10,000 more per deal. So now, if your spread was 12, right? Now you're looking at a $22,000 spread versus a $12,000 spread for just getting better at what you're actually doing. So now if your goal is $100,000 a month, I mean, you're looking at needing 4 point something deals per month versus the 8. So that's a big difference. So now you're able to squeeze more out of that. And then if you can get the 8, but put those same principles in place, now you're doing $200,000 months for what would have been a $100,000 month.
I do feel like I do get, it's not, maybe it is lazy, the word, like going through motions, probably with sellers, he's just like the same, same. And then just, oh, okay, you want that, 120. Okay, great. Let me take a look. Oh, okay, let's do that, instead of sitting and beating him up with it. But yeah, I think I definitely have, especially after last year, it was just like, sure, I'll take, give me a deal. Yeah,
but also think what happened last year may never happen again. But you will have something like that happens where you do see a dip. Now, if you can get an extra $5,000 to $10,000 per deal just on the seller's side, imagine how much that's going to put aside. So if something like that ever happens again, you're not letting team members go. You're supporting them through that time, right? You've got to build that savings in the business. And if that's the way you're accepting offers, I guarantee you can get $5,000 to $10,000 off those deals just by building that rapport and negotiating with those sellers. So it sounds like what you've done really good is you're getting the seller to give you your number, their number, which is really good. That's actually a really hard part sometimes when it comes to acquisitions. So if you're getting the seller to give you that number, I'll tell you what, when the seller gives us their number, we never take that number. We're always below it. For us, we're potentially $20,000 to $30,000 below it. Now, obviously you're looking at a $120,000 house versus our $600,000 house. So if you were able to get that seller down, if they're at 120, and then you're talking to this seller, you're building such good rapport with this person where they trust you, they like you. It's not all about business. Then you say, man, I really would probably need to be somewhere just north of 100. I mean, gosh, but we're not that far apart. So let's see what we can do here, Mr. Seller.
Close to that number can you get for me?
Exactly. So now let's say that seller within 2 minutes comes down to like 118. And then you say to that seller, gosh, we're getting a lot closer here. I want to wrap this up today. If we come to an agreement today, are you going to sign this today? Because let me tell you what, if we come up to an agreement and I raise my number up and I have to take that back to my partner, he's going to kill me. So I need to know that if we come to an agreement, we're ready to go, Mr. Seller. And I can't throw a number out and then all of a sudden we're negotiating for the next week. I need to know that if we come to this agreement today, you're ready to go. So, you came down to 118. Gosh, we're so close. My number really is sitting, gosh, where am I here? I'm sitting about 105, 650, right in there. Never throw out just a solid 105. It needs to be well thought out. So I'm looking at 105, 650. Gosh, man, if I really stretch this thing, do you think we can get to like 109 and get this thing done today? And that's a stretch for me. And I know it's a little lower than you want, but can we get to that number and make this work? And then shut up and let the seller think. You're going to have that awkward silence where they're thinking. They want you to say something else, but you're not. You're going to sit there dead silent. And every once in a while, you want to show them you're still there, kind of, just show them you're still there. And they will say something. And most likely, they're going to come off that 118, and they're probably going to come down, 115, maybe 112, something like that. But then you're still working that process. Man, 112 is just, that's a little rich for me right now. Our goal is obviously not to make a killing on these properties, but we do need to make a return on our money. 112, gosh, let me meet you in the middle here. Let's go 110.5. Let's get it done today. Does that work for you? I'll send over the paperwork right now. And then again, quiet, wait. They'll probably come down there, but you may have an extra, 15, 20 minutes on that phone call, but you got that seller off 120, almost down 10K, just by spending the additional time. And make sure before you get into those conversations, you've checked off a few boxes. You know enough about the house to speak about it. You've built enough rapport with that seller that you know who they live with, where they're moving to, you know a little about their life story. Because that's where you've built a friend, not somebody you're doing business with. And then that person trusts you so much that if you're coming down to that 110 number, they know that you are so knowledgeable about what it is that you're doing that they trust you on that number. And they trust that's where you can go. So now you just did your part, getting the seller almost down to 110. Now it's time for your partner, James, to do the exact same thing to the buyers, to prove to the buyers that this is a hot market and this house is worth it. And to get the buyers up.
Savage. Like he's like, and that's why he handles the dispositions, is because he's a dog. Like, basically he'll say like, no, this is the price. Like, no, this is the price. Come on. And whereas I get too excited on that end, I just do. I've always done that. I get too excited on like the disposition side, and I was much more aggressive. I think, I don't know, mentally, this past year was such a roller coaster for me. With everything and ups, downs, all arounds, and so I think that. And I know for a fact that, I stopped doing everything that I've known how to do and know how to do. And, kind of just like I said, going through the motions, like I show up and it's working, but I'm not going through every step that I know I should.
Yeah. And I completely agree. It seems like that, but it's easy to fall into that.
Well, sometimes you need to have a conversation like this where somebody else says it to you, to really drive it home.
Yeah, and I'll say to you, the same thing I say to everybody, when everyone kind of has that aha moment on these calls, is I'm not telling you something you don't already know. You know it, and it's in your head already. It's just you need someone to reiterate it to you, and that's all it is, right? I could say, mail more, do that, and you're like, well, shoot, I already knew that. It's just I needed someone else to tell me. And you need to really focus on that acquisition side, and on the dispo side, I would say, right now especially, he really needs to be going after new buyers that are new fix and flippers, because these people typically pay more for these properties. And if you guys can do that, I see you guys being able to increase your spread potentially to 25 to 30 with no problem. And then think of it that way. You don't need to do more deals. You just have to get better at the deals you're doing, and you already blow your goals out of the water. So then, now that you are so good at this box that you're working on, now you input this into more deals and more deals and more deals. And the next thing you know, you're doing those 8 to 10 deals a month, but your spread isn't 12 anymore, it's 25 to 30. And that's exactly what my team did. I said, okay, I don't want to do 100 deals a month. I'd rather do 25 deals a month, but have them be $70,000 spreads, because I would rather do that. And I would rather have these larger spreads that my acquisitions team is paid out on, that every deal you add to the pipeline, right, it's another transaction you have to babysit. You talked about the one in Texas. It took a lot of work. Yes, close it, but realistically, you probably lost money on that deal based on time you put into it. And we've had that happen too. So if you had more deals that were 30 grand versus 4 or 12, then you'll be able to have less transactions to process, but a higher income. So that's definitely a way to focus. And I think if you really spend time building up your acquisitions knowledge, on building rapport and really focusing on how to talk to these sellers, I think you are going to see a much larger return and much lower numbers on that acquisition side.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. I agree for sure. I definitely got into a thing of just get it under contract. Just get it under contract as soon as possible. And I rapport is my favorite part of the whole thing. But yeah, I stopped being like a killer when it came to what I want out of the deal.
Yep. And the thing is too, for us, we're not the highest offer on most of the deals we buy. So because we build such good rapport with these sellers that they want to work with us. So, these sellers will call us and say, hey, I got someone that's, 15 grand higher. I really want to work with you guys, but, they're $15,000 higher. And then that's when we're able to say, let me relook at the offer. Oh, I can come up about $2,500, but, I can't get to where they're at, but I'd love to work with you too. We've had sellers sign with us that are $40,000 less to come with us versus somebody else because we took the time to build the rapport. So it's a big difference. And the majority of them were not the highest. And we have no intention of trying to beat the highest. Unless, of course, price is literally the only factor to the person, then we try to see what we can do. But we don't want to get into bidding wars with people, and we make that very clear. So, for instance, Mike here he's my sales guy. He just pulled an offer from someone a week ago because we looked at it. Great house. The lady was just dragging her feet. I need to talk to this person. I need to have the contract reviewed. So he gave her the time. And finally, she comes back and says, we have an offer $50,000 higher. And Mike said, okay, well, I'll withdraw mine then. And she said, whoa, wait a second. I want to work with you. Well, I understand that, but I gave you a solid offer. I'm not interested in getting to a bidding war. With all due respect, I'm not interested in getting into a bidding war. We give a fair offer that we're going to come through on. Now, somebody else can very easily come and beat my offer. But if they're not going to come through on it, what are you left with? They're going to back out on you last minute. I'm giving you an offer that I know I can move forward at. That's the difference. I'm being honest with you. So he said, if you want to go with them, that's great. I'm going to go ahead and have Dylan, or he's our transaction coordinator. I'm going to go ahead and have Dylan void the DocuSign, and we'll just go ahead and pull out. I appreciate your time. And the lady was like, whoa, wait a second. And he was like, I'm going into an appointment, so I'm so sorry, but I have to go. So he hung up the phone. So this lady calls Dylan, our transaction coordinator, is like, wait, did you void that yet? And he's like, I was doing it right now. Mike told me to. And she goes, I'll sign it. And then she came forward and signed it. And we've got $110,000 spread on that property.
So she was trying to play somebody, see if she could get a rise and.
Yeah. And I truly believe she had a higher offer. I truly believe that because the large spread we have on the property, there's no way she didn't have a higher offer if she talked to someone because we shoot for the stars. But she trusted us and she wanted to work with us. So she decided to come with us. So sometimes it's the takeaway, right? The fear of loss. And we threw the fear of loss saying, hey, we're done. We're not getting into a bidding war. We have other houses we can buy. I would love to work with you, but a bidding war is just not something we do. And we've used that many times. And we've had a lot of deals that have come through based on that. So we assigned that deal solid with a buyer for $110,000 within 24 hours of getting that contract in. So not a bad day of work, right? It's just taking that time and making that seller love you so much that you should know about that seller's life, but that seller should also know about your life. They should know about your kids. They should know you're married. They should know what area you live in. They should know enough about you because a friendship goes both ways. So that person should be basically top of your friends list while you're talking to them. And then they're going to love working with you. And that's how you're going to get $10, $15, even $20,000 lower on your offers. You already know it.
For sure.
You just got to do it. All right. So that's the offer side. So if you do that, I'm confident you can blow these goals out of the water. $1 million's going to be in the rearview mirror if you start doing what we just talked about. And then if you alone start doing that, if your business partner starts doing that too, I mean, $1 million's going to be so far in the rearview mirror, you're going to laugh that you set a goal of $1 million this year. I mean, you're going to literally laugh at it. You're going to be sitting here February next year and you're going to say, dude, we set $1 million last year and we hit 2. So easy. Now, you've got leads coming in. You got a lot of stuff going on, cold calling, texting, RVMs. Are you doing direct mail right now? You've kind of mentioned it, but we didn't talk.
We did it. We haven't done it in probably 4 months. We typically would do it like kind of like an on and off thing, just local markets. We haven't done it in any other markets, but yeah, we haven't done it lately.
Okay. So I take it you guys have sellers in your system that you have not been able to close yet, right? Mm-hmm. Take those sellers, export those sellers out of your system, and send those sellers like a nice marketing piece. So maybe a letter, something a little bit nicer, it'll cost you a little bit more. A nice letter out to these people in like the invitation style envelope. Don't send it in a standard envelope where it looks like it's just an advertisement. Yeah. And basically send them a letter that, hey, we've talked in the past. And it seems like things didn't work out at the time for one reason or another. Just make it sound really nice. Introduce yourself with who you are. This should be from you because you're the acquisitions person. And say you would love the opportunity to, bring that conversation to light again. There's been a lot of changes in the market, and your offer potentially at this time could increase. If you would welcome this conversation, please give me a call. And what you're going to try to do is reignite these leads that didn't work in the past. And a lot of people think the leads in the system, we'll throw them on follow-up. They stay on auto follow-up forever. But getting that nice letter from you, maybe in like a red invitation style envelope, something that looks like you're sending a thank you card or something, and just type something nice up to them. And get that out to them and see if you can get these people to start calling back in to start up these conversations. You've already paid for the lead. The lead's already in the system. So if you can close even like 3 to 4 of those at $25,000 spread, you're looking at 75 to 100 grand for leads you already had in the system.
And we actually recently, end of last year, switched from Podio to FreedomSoft. So yeah, like I know there's stuff in our Podio, that we need to do something with other than just push it over and call more, because I mean, some people just don't answer anything ever on the phone.
They don't.
It's just the way it is. They just need to be touched in a different way.
Yep. And the other thing you could do is you could text these people a very vague text.
Hey, what's up?
Like, hey, Bob, give me a call.
Yeah.
And then see what the person says back.
I actually have done like last week I was doing on follow-ups of like, hey, can you believe this weather?
There you go. Anything you can do. Yeah, anything you can do to get somebody to do it, because the standard, are you interested in a cash offer on your house or blah, 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 it's just not working anymore. There's too many people doing it. So you need to get very creative with your messages. We'll send out a message on Monday that says, hey, how was your weekend? And then we wait for them to reply. So, I mean, you can do different things like that. But I mean, just like my team, you have a ton of leads in your system that you need to look at how you can work those leads. Now, do you guys do any partnerships with realtors at all to try to get paid back some money?
As far as like sending them referrals or whatever. Yeah, we do.
Okay. Are you guys making money back on that?
Not a ton, no.
Okay. So, I mean, keep in mind, every lead that comes in your system, if they want to sell and they won't sell for a discount, with as hot as the market is right now, you should be working with a realtor on these leads. They should be listing it, and you should be getting back like anywhere between 30 to 50% of their commission. So we settle at about 30%. We don't really go higher than that because we think the realtor still adds a lot of value. But when you look at that, that's a lead you already paid for. There's no further cost. So if that realtor gets that lead signed up and you get back 30% of that, and you can get a couple of those done a month, that's additional income off leads you already have. Why wouldn't you do that, right? You have to start looking at every lead in the system not as, is this a wholesale deal? You have to say, okay, step one, does this person want to sell at a discount? Or you think they'll ever sell at a discount? Yes? Okay, that's a potential wholesale deal. Didn't work wholesale? Now your next step is creative deal. Will this work as a seller financing or a potential sub-2 deal? Nope, that won't work. Okay, now it goes over to the realtor and the realtor lists it. Every lead has to have a direction. It doesn't do good with the lead just sitting there unless, of course, you think it will be a wholesale deal at one point. So get those to those realtors, track which ones you send over, and then watch it. Make sure you have an honest realtor. They'll tell you. But ask for the closing statement once it closes. You can see how much they were paid, and then you get back that much. And if you can start getting income coming in that way as well, then you start realizing that, man, there's income from all angles here. And if you can get, subject to deals going where you can keep as rentals, Kansas City's a great rental market. You can keep those as rentals, and let's say you can get a deal where you take over the payments on it and it only costs you $3,000 down, but you've got rental income of $500 a month for the next 30 years. So there's a lot of different things you can do with these leads. It's just you got to sit down with your partner and say, okay, are we going with just the standard box of wholesale? If we are, we need to introduce these new channels because we're losing money by not
my partner's actually super into the creative finance thing in terms, and like my second deal was one that we did terms on, and when we actually wholesaled the terms on. That was my second deal ever. But yeah, we've done most of them. Or I'm not as confident in my pitch on those, which I just need to be better, like you're saying,
Mm-hmm. But if you're not as confident on your pitch on that, then maybe that's not you. So what we do in my office, my wholesale deal people do not present terms. Because if the seller wants $200,000 and you are the ass that offered him $90,000, that you are now a bad guy in their book, right? Yeah. So now all of a sudden, if you shifted your mentality and you're like, oh, I could give you 200, then they're like, hey, no, you go screw off, right? So if you were able to say, you know what, it doesn't seem like we're going to be able to come to an agreement because, I just can't get there based on what I have in my playbook here, but I do have a partner in my office that has some very creative strategies. Let me have him give you a call and see if you guys can work something out. I mean, I want to do business with you, but so let's see if we can do this. Let me have him give you a call. How about 2:00 tomorrow? And you're just pushing it on him. You're setting a time, and then you're having your partner call because he's going to become the creative guy, and he's going to call him. Yeah, there you go. And now if he can close this deal, then you guys have got this deal in the books, and you do exactly what you did with the other deal. But now that's obviously going to add more to his plate when it comes to, he's doing dispo, now he's going to have creative stuff. But if you guys start seeing, you could see enough money come in from the creative channel and the realtor channel that it could pay for an employee to start taking over.
All of his rentals are from whether it's seller finance or subject to, like I think all of his are.
Perfect. And you guys have got all the leads to do it. So you guys have got to start seeing that money come in from those other channels. And then pretty soon you're laughing at the $2 million you would have hit, and you're hit $3 million, right? But you have 30 years out of income coming in on some of these properties too. There's so many creative ways to do things that if you do that, you already have the leads. You don't have to market any different to do these things. Not at all. So maybe you send a mail piece to every lead in your system then to see if you can get that lead coming through. And then you start passing them off wholesale creative realtor and see if you can get some of these done. I bet you there's a ton of deals sitting there. You just got to bring them back to life.
Yeah. And so, I actually really like just deciding quickly on what is this. You know, I do get, it's so easy to get stuck in that thing of just putting it in a follow-up, like you said. And then next, thing you know, like you're like, God, I got to call this. It's already been like 3 months. Oh, this guy again. So it's like, yeah, deciding quickly what is it, you know?
Yeah. So I mean, you've got the knowledge. You know how to do it. I'm really looking forward to see kind of 6 months from now what you've implemented and where you guys are at. I bet you you're way ahead of your goal when we meet in 6 months. But we've got, let's see, about 8 minutes left or so. I want to kind of give this to you this time here so I can answer kind of anything that's on your mind, any questions that you have.
When it comes to training your acquisitions people, you know, especially the rapport part, are you just looking for the certain type of person? Or because I've had a good rapport guy, but he would always get friend zoned, you know, and could never, you know, slice the throat, is what I always like to say. But basically just, yeah, he'd always get stuck there and never be able to close, you know?
Yeah, I would say that person needs to go through like an acquisitions training. So me and my COO saw, like, it was about a year ago now, we created an acquisitions training that was going to be a 2-day in-person, hands-on, calling sellers, building rapport, teaching the close. So we created this a year ago, but our first meeting was supposed to be in like April or May last year. Well, obviously, April or May, everything shut down. So we launched this. It was called the REI Masters, and we sold out. We sold out 2 classes for an entire week, and then all of a sudden COVID hit, and we couldn't meet. And we're like, well, shoot, this sucks. So we've had to put that on hold for a year now. But this was meant, because everyone's having the problem that you're having, right? As far as how do you build the rapport successfully without getting friend zoned and still go into the close? This is a very common problem. So what we were gonna do is you guys literally bring leads to this training, and we sit in there and we're calling your leads, and there's only gonna be like 25 people in the room. So it's gonna be a very small room all day long, 100% acquisitions focused. And our goal was to make it so people close enough deals in that room that you've paid for the training. And then, of course, that got stalled. So we'll probably bring that back around again things are starting to open up now, but every time we've tried to rebook it, we always took a step back with COVID, and then we had to cancel it again. So
is there a sales training that you put your guys through, or, you know, specific things you would have them watch or listen to, you know, whatever it may be? Or was it like you had them take the disc test or whatever that would kind of differentiate the personalities?
You know what? I never actually had my guys take the disc test until last week. Because I didn't want to focus on what a test told me. I wanted to focus on, is this person hungry, and do they want to move forward and make more money than they've ever made in their life? So we decided that we would build our internal acquisitions training, because I didn't want my team to do what the masses is doing. I wanted my team to do something different, and it worked really well doing that training. It was very time consuming, but that's how we built the REI Masters, is we said, what are we doing that is so much different than other people out there? And how can we train a small group of people on how to do this? And that's how we kind of came up with the idea of doing that. And we've had so much fun with it. Like we were bummed. Like it was like your mom took candy from a baby. We were so bummed that we couldn't do this, because we were so stoked to go do it, because we wanted to see if what we were doing with our acquisitions people could be planted in another team across the country to make them better. So we did some test trials. Do you know who Max Maxwell is?
Yeah, that's how I had heard of you a long time ago, actually.
Okay, perfect. So Max, he flew out one of his acquisitions people about a year ago to us, and she spent 2 days in the office with us, and we just, from 8 in the morning till 10 at night, we were just, she had to be worn out. We were putting her through the drills of acquisitions, and she had never closed a deal. And she went back and she closed 5 deals the next week. So we're like, this works. So then we took one of my friends, Joe Taylor in Portland, brought his guy out, trained him. And he was closing deals, but he went back and doubled his deal volume the next week being back in the office. So we're like, this works. It's just finding the time to do it. If you're looking at short-term training with your people right now to kind of get you by, what you really need to do is you need to have them have their phones on speakerphone so you can listen to their calls. And then you take the phone and you mute it real quick. And then you say, hey, try this approach. And then unmute it and let them try it. You're helping them through a live call, but you're not talking to the seller for them. You're muting the phone and showing them ways around it. And that is something that does really good. Don't wait for the phone call to hang up and then say you should have done this. Help them on the call and coach them through it. And you'll start seeing a big change in their closing capability.
That's what I was doing with my last guy. And it was just that whenever I wasn't doing that, he just, it was actually, it's a buddy. And it was one of those deals where I was like really like rooting for him, but it just wasn't fitting. It was like putting the circle through the square type thing. And it just wasn't fitting. And I was like I wanted it to work so bad. But it was a greatest guy in the world, would do anything for anybody. But his role would be, better doing something else,
Yeah, and that's the thing about hiring friends is it makes it really tough when it comes to time to part ways and they're not working, because you as an entrepreneur want to take your friends along the ride. You want your friends to be successful if they're truly good friends, right? So if you have the ability to bring somebody on and have them make $100,000 a year when they were making 40 before, you want them to do that and you want that success for them. But then there's the downside. If it doesn't work, then you've got that issue. Is you have a tendency to keep them on payroll too long because you don't want to deal with the problem, because you don't want to let your friend down.
That's it.
Yeah, you need to have that.
Right there, way too long.
You need that clear mindset. You have to hire people. You have to hire people that aren't your friends. And I'm not saying never hire your friends. I know people that have and it's been successful, but
no, I think you're right.
Yeah, you got to do it. You got to start, and you should always be interviewing. Like our acquisitions position is always posted. And even if we don't need somebody, if we get that killer candidate that applies, we're gonna meet with that person. And we may make room for that person because we don't want to miss them out. We don't want to miss out on them. So always be collecting applications. Always be doing that. So you should always have that job posting up. And then you go to your friends and say, hey, here's a deal. I'll give you $500 if you bring me someone that survives 90 days in my company. Bring me referrals and do it. And you'll start finding that people bring you more and more people. Our office, the majority of the people here were recommended by other employees in the business because of that. And I give them $2,000 if someone survives 90 days.
That's how our VAs are all there, is actually from like I think one of the girls, and they just kind of all would refer, kind of a domino.
Yeah, because they have friends. And if you treat them well and you pay them well, they want their friends to come and work with you. So our VAs do the same thing. So it's all word of mouth. So once we get that acquisitions thing up and running again, we'll let you know. And then if it works for you, it works for you. It's just, we got to figure out when.
I'm just not very good at, and maybe I shouldn't even, because I know like what you say, it means a lot, but as far as showing somebody what I do, I get up and walk around most of the time when I'm on the phone. And so I don't sit in like, okay, step 2, I'm like, I engage and I try to do it that way. And so, yeah, getting somebody to learn what to say, but also, try to be themselves in the process. It's just been a challenge for me.
Yeah. And, my whole team paces on the phone, and I hired a whole team of sales reps that do that. So, I mean, literally, you hear a speakerphone getting quieter, getting louder as they're walking around in basically circles. I pace my office. My desk is like right in the middle, and I literally like circle my desk while I'm on the phone. Mike, my acquisitions guy, COO, he does the same thing. Everyone is just walking around, and I think that's a trait of a really good sales rep. Like you just can't sit still. You want to be doing something.
Psycho.
Exactly. Well, I don't know. It's jury's still jury's out on that one still.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, I think it's a really good trait. I really do, and my team does that all the time. So make sure if you're pacing, you can pace on speaker, but pace within an office where somebody can still hear you, and let them still hear everything you're doing to be able to learn from you. If you keep leaving the office, then you're not going to be training them. So you got to teach yourself it's okay to pace, but you can also mute the call and say, see what I did there? And let them see kind of what it is that you've done, and then unmute it. So you're working through that to teach them as you're doing these calls. Did this help you?
No, man, it really did. And like you said, it's like most of the stuff is stuff that it's the conversation I have in my head like every night as I'm going to bed, just like freaking myself out, because that's what I do a lot of times, when it's like the quiet room. It's like, gosh, I just need to do this. I just need to do that, and it's the self-talk thing. And then, but I get it back in here and I'm just like, blah, it's kind of blah, blah, blah. So yeah, I mean, I knew what I need to do, but hearing it from somebody else kind of saying like, dude, do it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. And when we do our 6-month checkup, let's get your business partner on here too, so we can kind of see. It's always good to see a dynamic between partners a little bit, and kind of how you guys are working together, and see where you're at in 6 months. I mean, if he's willing to come on here, let's have him do it as well, because I think it'd be really cool to kind of get both of you guys and get the point of view from two people.
Yeah, man, for sure.
But
He's got his kids are doing like the at home school. So he's ever since COVID, like he's been at home pretty much during the day, for the whole thing, which actually it's not bad, at all. But yeah, it's tough to coordinate these sort of deals right now, but I think it's going to be back to normal soon, hopefully.
yeah, I mean, we got 6 months to figure it out. I mean, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But I mean, even if he's at home, we can send the Zoom link to him, and he can do it from there too. You guys don't need to be in the same place. Makes it pretty easy. But yeah, I hope this kind of helps you get to that next level, and I hope that I'm really curious to see what the difference in your spreads are going to be based on just spending a little more time pushing back and trying to take that rapport to the next level to get yourself lower offers. I think that's going to be really good for you. So.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. It's like it's one of those bonehead, not even bonehead, just like like, dude, come on, you know what to do. I've read the books, I've watched the videos, I've listened, I've been to the events, I've been to all the events and talked to all the people, and it's the same stuff. It's just doing the reps, the going into the gym like Kobe Bryant, shoot 8,000 shots a day type of thing,
Yeah, and continue to go to the events. I mean, a lot of the event stuff's going to be a repeat based on the kind of the level you're getting to, but the events aren't just about that. But keep going, because you're going to continue to build relationships with people in those rooms. And I go to events knowing that I am literally going to be up meeting somebody for breakfast, and I'm going to be having dinner with someone else at 10 p.m. So just plan on long days, work yourself through there, and just build relationships, get phone numbers, because those are the people you're going to continue to lean on as you continue to grow. It's not so much about the full content of the event, it's about who's in that room that's got the same mindset as you. So
actually, I quit my job. I quit my job from the All In Momentum event in 2019. I texted my boss from that floor, and yeah, I mean, Nick Perry I had breakfast with him the first morning. I didn't know he was like a millionaire, you know what I mean? And where he's just sitting there being super cool to me and helping me. And then once I quit my job, he gives me his number and hey man, he goes, in 6 weeks, you're going to freak out. Like, trust me, in 6 weeks, you're going to freak out. Call me when you do. we'll talk. And dude, sure enough, literally like 6 weeks later, I'm like full on panic. Like, dude, what did I do? Oh man. And then, it worked out, but
Yeah, Nick's a good guy, man. He knows his stuff. I was just actually at Extreme Freedom with Sean, and we had dinner pretty much
saw
every
that
night.
picture too, I think.
Yeah, I mean, dude, that is a good event, a really good event. And every year, Sean makes it different and really ups it. So
He said he quit his job from Extreme Freedom years ago. Nick did.
He did. Yeah, he did.
I quit my job from the same ballroom that you did, like the same place, same hotel. So it's pretty cool.
It's really cool to see people make that commitment in the room.
But I didn't even ask my wife first. That was probably not the smartest thing, dude. She was so pissed.
Oh, I imagine.
Yeah, I was like, I quit, and she goes, "Well, we can talk about it." And I was like, "Well, we're gonna have a little more time to talk about it because I won't be at work."
Yeah, I don't know if I advise that.
It was not a good choice, but it was kind of one that I had to do it that way for my, it just had to. I had to do it immediately, or else I would have taken the time and thought about it and talked to the people that love me the most. That would have been like, but you got insurance, you got this, you got that, retirement, and it's like,
That's exactly it. But now you're setting yourself up even better. So, if you guys are getting rentals to keep and stuff, you're building your future wealth. So there's a lot of different things you guys can do.
Like we can go do. I took my kids fishing. I took my son fishing almost every single day in 2020. I mean, I wouldn't have been able to do that.
Yeah. Yep. So those are always the good things to do. But there's also long hours as you grow the business and do things like that. So make sure you're always setting aside time to be present for that kind of stuff, because it's very easy to always have work on your mind that when you're with them, you're not present, but you're present, if that makes sense.
No, it's me. That's me. Like, that's what the one thing that 2020 was so good for me was that it allowed me to, just kind of be with them, be with myself, even sometimes without thinking, and just being present in whatever I'm doing and not just stressing out about deals and a seller's calling me, or I'm getting, I got called last night at 7, about a seller down in Arkansas. So it was nice.
Yeah. And make sure you're setting those vacations too. I would definitely set yourself a goal. You're talking about vacations. Get something on the calendar this year.
April 18th is already booked, buddy.
There you go. Where are you going?
Orange Beach. My daughter has a 2-day cheer competition down there, but we went ahead and booked a week.
Good. Yes. And get those. That's why you do this.
Mm-hmm. Our goal,
building those memories.
My wife's goal is to do one family vacation and then one, couples vacation somewhere, and then also, get some weekends in there where we go to. Well, if your dad's from Kansas City, go to Branson for a weekend or something like that with the kids and do nice stuff.
Yeah, so make sure you don't forget to do that, because that's now a commitment you've made, and it's something that you need to make sure you do. And then pretty soon you're going to book a couple of vacations a year for the whole family, but don't let that couples one go, man. Keep that one on there as well, because that's important. So
that's probably most important, or else there won't be a family one.
Yeah, that's very true. Happy wife, happy life.
Yes, sir.
All right, everybody. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. My time with Ryan here in Kansas City. This has been definitely a good podcast, and I think that you guys already know some of the stuff you need to do to get yourself to the next level, but it just takes a conversation like this to help bring it to light and help you have that aha moment. So I hope that Ryan had that. We're going to follow up with Ryan in 6 months, have him back on here, and we are going to play clips back of this one on where he was and see where he is at that time. So hopefully he takes that $1 million goal this year and just blows it out of the water, and hopefully he accomplishes it by our 6-month meeting, putting this stuff in place. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. If you guys like my videos, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel so you guys know every time we get a new one posted. I'm Scott Oots. We'll talk to y'all later.